Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the markets in general, right? Ladies and gentlemen, monthly candle closed higher than the previous month over here. So we are officially making a higher high in terms of the monthly. Now, I do believe June is going to go absolutely amazing, right? I really do believe that. I do believe it's going to be the start of the expansion, probably upwards of 116, 118,000. And the reason why I say this is because global liquidity, which we'll look at in just a second, is expected to pump really, really hard, right? If we go to indicators, put on the global liquidity index, when we go to this, when we go change the settings real quick, right, we can see that, ladies and gentlemen, boom, 91 days from the bottom, boom, 91 days from the top, right? That's the last candle. And then we can see this bottom right here on the chart, this last dip is 91 days. And then after that, we can see global liquidity is just kind of having a field day consistently until boom, mid-July. And then obviously we can see now global liquidity has slowed down after that. So, but that's something to worry about in the future, right? Obviously, if we see a big dump in global liquidity, that means probably, hey, we got to cash out mid-July time. If not, then, ladies and gentlemen, if it continues to go absolutely diabolically up to the upside, then we're in for a great, fantastic few months. So yeah, look, historically though, when we look at the global liquidity and we go on the weekly chart, this is the 91-day candle, right? This one over here. What do you notice happens right after? We sweep it and then we crash to the downside, okay? This is the last sell candle, right? This one over here was the 91 days of bearishness, and then after that it was bullish, right? The recovery. What do you notice in the beginning? It sweeps the downside and then goes up. So what do I expect to happen this week? Well, I expect this candle to get swept at the bare minimum, but we also can see that there is kind of like a trend line support forming over here. So it would not surprise me at all if we actually even went down to around 100K and then went back up, right? And then went back up. The reason why I say this is because there's going to be a lot of liquidity over there. We see like this is the last liquidity point, and this is imbalance. Now, it doesn't technically have to happen that way, right? If this daily candle did close the way it did, all I expect is at the minimum for this 103,000 candle to get swept. So we'll obviously monitor stuff because even like last time, before things started to pump, it just swept the current candle and then it just boom, right? It just went blast off. So yeah, so we're gonna be paying attention to that. Overall, I do expect some kind of big dump. I would like to see a big dump. Even right now, when we look at you know the daily, it doesn't look too convincing for me. It is going to be one of those moments where we are going to just get manipulated and then dump down below, and then recover. But look, I expect very, very good things. Now, this is a little tricky, and this may not be 100% accurate, but I want to show you something very, very important that I noticed, right? If we actually go to the global liquidity index and we go, let's just change it to color red, right? Something I want to do is put it pound for pound, practically lining up the global liquidity with the chart. So since I don't want to take too long, I'm just going to do it more or less the right way. So we're going to take it from here to here. We're actually going to take it from here to here. And what you're going to notice, ladies and gentlemen, is actually, I have to make this smaller like this. Boom, right? We're practically touching it. It's practically almost perfect. Now, I'm not going to make it literally perfect, but we can see, right? This is the bottom. We're touching it. Boom, we sweep. This is the top. Boom. I expect, we boom, right? And then we went down here, right? Down here. So I expect, Bitcoin to come back down to this like 100,000, 100,500 area, okay? Because this is what, the global liquidity is suggesting. We may see Bitcoin, right? We may see Bitcoin around 145 to 150,000 by the time mid-July happens. Now I'm calling it now, you know, so, it's not one of those things where people just say it because it's convenient and it's already there. Now, I'm making the call before that I do believe that we will be hitting the 140,000s mid-July, sometime in July. Okay? Because look, if we follow global liquidity very, very closely, and if we take it for pound value, we can see, right? Especially if we get confirmation of Bitcoin going back down to like 100K and then reversing, then that's going to be like, this lining this chart up exactly with the way the candles are would probably mean that we are the one for one value, right? We are going to be looking at this very accurately. So if it is going to be very accurate, where we go down to roughly 100K, and then by the time we hit mid-July, and we're going to be near the, in the 140,000s, right? And then we sell off, then that's going to be an indication that this is literally going to be a cheat sheet. So then if hypothetically, right, global liquidity in the future goes, maybe down a little bit and then like up, whatever, and then boom, and then it crashes, right? If we have the chart lined up exactly the way the global liquidity is, then we very may well predict the top just within $1,000 range, right? Maybe a couple $100 range, maybe $1,000, $2,000 range, which is like at that point, who cares, right? $2,000 this way or that way, you should be already like cashing out your money. You don't need to be literally cashing out the top, but we're going to monitor this, right? Because this is going to be very, very important to see, if it is accurate. Only time will tell. We could debate, right? We could debate taking this tippy top of this global liquidity, taking it out 91 days, early to mid June, right? We can see if Bitcoin is at 127,000 more or less early to mid June, then yes, this global liquidity index is going to be a one for one value with the charts that we have lined up here. So it's going to be very, very beautiful, very, very beautiful. And I'm super, super excited to see if this theory works. Okay. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Leave a thumbs up. It always helps. We're going to be doing live streams every single day, probably between like 6:45 and 7:45, somewhere there. Still have to see what works the best for a lot of people. And yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should have, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.